Yes. Okay. As I was thinking about this morning, I was being reminded of a fruit tree and how each day that the fruit is on the tree, it gets juicier and juicier and sweeter and sweeter. And it feels like that's what's happening here. Each day where the topics just take us deeper into this foundational understanding that we all are awakening to. And that's drawing you all here. And I am so grateful that you are drawn here. So thank you. So we had spent the first 2 days talking about the feminine, the ancient mother, and then the rivers, the waters. And then yesterday we talked about the ancient masculine, and the feminine kept coming in. She wants to be heard. And I think that's beautiful. And there's really no way to talk about the feminine without letting the masculine in, because that fire and air, those elements are needed by the feminine. And there's no way to talk, it's vice versa, because they're so intricately
David.
connected.
Join the meeting.
There we go. Is there someone else? Yep. Okay. Thank you for joining us, both of you. All right. So we're just kind of doing a quick review over where we've come and how this is like a fruit tree that is just getting juicier each day that it's able to ripen deeper. And so today, well, let me just go back to what we've come to. Remember that we talked about how when the waters are open and when the feminine allows herself to be vulnerable, she can open to receive the light. And that is part of her daily purification process, is part of our purification process. When we let the light into our being, and when that union between the masculine and the feminine through the light and the water is consecrated, love is what is birthed. And so we've had this masculine and feminine dance, and now we're talking about the love that we are birthing every day as we remain open, keep our hearts open, and even in the midst of all that we're seeing that would have us want to protect ourselves, to close our hearts, to not be vulnerable, to even isolate ourselves. Sometimes it's like, I can't be out in public today. It's just too crazy out there. I'm sure we've all felt that one time or another. And there are days when that is absolutely appropriate and needed. And the truth is, even when we are home alone, we're not isolated, because we are partnering with the elements, with the earth. Just by having a body, we are partnering with the earth, and we are one with her. Just by having 99% of the molecular weight of our being be water, we are partnering with her, because we are one with her. And by having the fire move through us, through all of our metabolic functions, and through our emotions as well. There's a lot of fire in a lot of emotions. Just by having that emotional being part of who we are, a very integral part, it's our communication system with the greater whole. Whatever we feel is in part at least, communication from what's around us, telling us what supports life within us and what depletes life within us. And we respond accordingly. So just by virtue of all of that fire that moves through us, we are partnering with fire, and we are one with fire. And it's the same with the air. So, I mean, we can't be separate from it. And as we mentioned yesterday, when we're needing nurturing, we can simply go into our inner waters. If we don't have a friend nearby, if we don't have anyone there in that moment who can fill that need of nurturing, we can be nurtured by our own inner mother and our own inner waters. So it all comes together in this beautiful dance. And today we get to talk about how we birth love every moment that we're aware of that, and that we work in partnership with nature, with the elements, with the mother. So I'm looking forward to this conversation as much as I have all the others. So I invite you for our opening. Does anyone want to say anything or ask any questions about that? All good? Okay. Sari, you're muted, so I didn't hear you.
I would just like to acknowledge you because I feel so much gratitude for the nourishment that you give and that comes from this sharing. And I find this image of the fruit that's ripening and getting sweeter very, very appropriate because I really experience it that way. So I'm very, very grateful to you. Thank you.
I'm so grateful to all of you because it's much more fun to talk with others than it is myself. And so I appreciate all of you. Okay, so now we can go into this place within us where the water, the fire, the earth, and the air are dancing. They are in partnership, working together, moving through us in waves. The air moves the fire, and the air also moves the water. The fire fuels all of the other elements within us, and it fills the space. All of these elements fill that space between the subatomic particles. It is the unified field within us. So all of the 5 elements are this beautiful family supporting each other constantly. Feel that all happening inside you in this very moment. And breathe into that dance, breathe into that partnership. And just check in with yourself. See what your awareness of all of this motion inside you is feeling like. Notice any parts of your body that are wanting to pull more energy into them, and breathe into those places. Fill them with exactly what they're needing. And we remember that in this unified field, which is 99% of all that is moving inside of us, every resource that we need is there at a cosmic level and even at the earthly level, because we contain all of the minerals, the elements, everything that the mother contains. What she contains in her body, we contain in our body. We open to receive the etheric gels, harmonics, colors, nutrients, all that is available to us in exactly the amounts and the places where they are needed within our being, that we may be replenished with every breath. And as we become replenished, and we open ourselves to receive that replenishment with deep gratitude, feeling that gratitude, allowing that gratitude, inviting that gratitude to dance with all of the other movement that's happening within your being. Feel it integrating sinking into the earth within you, the waters within you, the fire within you, the air within you, and all the spaces in between. And from this open place, whoops, welcome, Sarah. From this open place, we visualize the light that is everywhere, that is infinite. The light from source, from the sun, from the central sun, from the sun behind all the suns. There are infinite suns throughout all of the cosmos. And the light of 1,000 suns is available to us. The light of infinite suns. And when we connect with the light of all of those suns, we can breathe it in. We can invite it in. Invite it into the depth of our inner waters. And this is pure light. So as we breathe in that purity, that is light, and invite it into our inner waters, visualize the sun shining on the water and the sparkles that we see. Sunlight on water is one of the most beautiful things. I love seeing that. And each time it reminds me that that light is I am breathing that light in, and it's going into my inner waters, and that shine, that sparkling, that cleansing, that purification is happening within. And I can amplify. And so I invite you all to amplify that light that is shining on your inner waters, and invite it in more deeply. Invite it into the depths. Breathe it deeply into those waters within you. Receive that purification. And again, in that sacred union between the light that holds the masculine principles and the waters that hold the feminine principles, no matter what, they hold that. This sacred union is birthing love, to dance with all of the elements and the light within you. Just breathe in, feel the power of this beautiful movement of frequencies and qualities of the feminine and the masculine, and those principles coming together, awakening the memory in you of what those principles are and what your relationship to those principles and your relationship to the elements really are. So we're going to take a few moments of silence to breathe into that you may communicate and listen to what this dance wants you to know, what needs to awaken in you, and what you need to awaken that, to allow all these beautiful energies to support you in that awakening. Just feel it. Listen. Feel these communications, these messages integrating more deeply, ripening within you and becoming sweeter, supporting all of your life force, supporting deeply your soul, becoming the answer to your soul's longings. Feel your breath, your being, every particle and wave of your being becoming fuller, and in the process becoming fulfilled. Let your soul sing that song of fulfillment within you. With all of that in your awareness, I invite you to breathe into your heart. Breathe into all the places where you feel the love flowing through you, because you have birthed it by choice. And let yourself sink deeply into the quality of that love and the qualities that that love holds, even as it's your child, as you choose to birth that love through you. What does it feel like? Even call on that love and ask it to show itself to you. Listen to that love. And as this love appears to you, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What is it that love would have you know now for your personal message? And as we bask and bathe in this incredible love, I invite you to feel new springs being birthed from within your being, enhancing the flow of your waters. And these are the children of the water, these springs, who are still pure and innocent, just having sprung from the love of within the womb. That's all they know. That's all they remember, is that they are that pure love from which they have come. And bubbling up within you in those springs is deep, profound, conscious gratitude. Coming in to dance with love and all of the other qualities and the principles that we're talking about. There is a joyous celebration happening within you in this very moment. And this joyous celebration can continue in every moment with your awareness and your remembrance of this moment and your sacred place in all of nature, among the elements, among the trees and the mountains and the grasses and the flowers. Wanting to hang out in the woods with all of the creatures, the winged ones, the four-leggeds, even the insects. It's all our family. And I invite you to welcome yourself, welcome you home among this family. It lives inside you and it's all around you to remind you of the beauty and the grace that you hold within you, not to mention the incredible potential. Now that you've settled in to this as your new normal, begin to prepare yourself to open your eyes, to speak what wants to come through you, to speak your truth, and to accept and be this love that you have always been and will always be. And now that love is more conscious to you. Your awareness of it has shifted. Your awareness of your being and your relationship with nature and all of life and the cosmos has shifted. So you begin to see differently because you are different. Honor your courage. Honor yourself for making this choice to be all that you were born to be. And to live the reality of that truth, whatever it is for you. We call this forth with a pure, pure heart that is filled with light and love and penetrates deeply into every particle and wave of our being. And we know that it is done. It is done. It is done. Blessed be. And so it is. And so we begin from this reference point, from this place of awareness. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Come back slowly. When you open your eyes, again, be aware. Phew, how present you are. Yeah, moving can help integrate that flow. So here we are in this beautiful sacred circle. Thank you, Sarah. It's nice to see you. Thank you. David came during the meditation, and Martina. Thank you so much all for being here. So I just want to check in, see how you're all feeling. If there's any messages that came to you that you'd like to share, so that we can really move into this conversation, this dialogue about the love that we are. We all speechless? It kind of is. It's like, what words are necessary when we return to the truth of the origins within us? It's so deep. Yeah, it is quite profound. So let me just go to, while you're still settling into all of this, some of the questions that were in the description. I don't have words either. It's like blah. So the breath of love. What does that mean to you? Does in this experience, we actually moved into that breath of love. We became that. Does anyone want to share your take on your response to that question? The breath of love is unity in action. It's actually action is one of the principles of the masculine. Yesterday I said that the masculine energy is unity in action. And this breath of love, breath is the masculine. That is bringing that unity into our consciousness, inside and as well as out. And I'm going to call on, I'm still having a hard time pronouncing your name. Is the V after the K pronounced like an R?
No.
Krika? Krika?
Kvika. Kvika.
Kavika. It is. Okay. All right. I couldn't tell when you pronounced that for me if that V was an R or a V. So Kavika. Okay. That's beautiful. I really like it. What would you like to share?
Yes, so in the meditation I felt, my tears are still running of joy, like tears of joy and feeling connection. And in the meditation I really felt how much, like the breath and all the elements were loving me. So I feel so touched by the amplification, because I know that life loves me, but like with you and with all of you, to go through this meditation helps me to go even deeper in this community. And I'm having a real challenge with menopause, being exhausted. And as I understand it, the exhaustion comes from the patterning, and that I can't really afford to carry them anymore.
Yes.
and that the answer for more energy is this, is to really be in my innocence of receiving life
Ah.
and the light, as you said, like consecrated, just consciously, moment by moment, feeling this. And of course, I'm struggling with my patterning because it's automatic
Mhm.
and it's so easily triggered. So that's a challenge. So I'm with both of these places. But yes, I feel really nourished to be here with you.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. Patterning habits are one of the reasons that they have taken hold in us is because they have become unconscious in many, many ways. And so they just kind of run the show under the surface. And sometimes we don't even realize that we've slipped back into an old pattern that we've at one point acknowledged that doesn't serve us anymore. But the moment they arise up into our awareness, they are no longer unconscious. And then we can choose what to do with that. It's going back to the equation S plus R equals O. Your response to whatever you're experiencing is the variable, the only variable in the equation. And for those of you who weren't here when I mentioned this, the equation S plus R equals O came to me in the meditation, and the situation is the constant. It's the given in the equation. The R is the variable, and the O is basically the outcome of whatever the situation that presents to us. And I see it as Source saying, show me who you are now. I learned that as a teacher. The students, I taught high school, and inevitably, especially when I was very green right out of college, the guys in the class, the biggest guys in the class who were, in control of the situation, would say, I'm not doing that stupid assignment. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that happened. And initially, I did what I learned to do. I said, well, if you're not going to participate, go to the office. There's no point in your being here. And after a few times of that, I realized that when the student stood up to me and said, I'm not doing that, I showed him who I was by taking the authority, the response as the authoritarian, and saying, all right, well, if you're not going to do what I say, leave. I don't want you here. And I realized how totally upside down that was. And I tuned in to the student. I'm an empath. It's easy for me to tune in and see what's missing. I've been able to do that my whole life. And so I understood in some cases that student didn't understand the assignment and wasn't willing to be vulnerable enough to say, can you explain that again? I don't get it. And so it was just like, no way, I'm not doing it. Sometimes it just felt really irrelevant to the student. And so when that came to me as the need, relevance, I totally understand that. And so I would work with that student to find a way to gain the lesson, the message from the lesson, without having to do something that felt irrelevant to them. Make it relevant. Help them come to a way of coming to the same conclusion of learning, but doing it in a way that felt relevant. So the moment I made that shift, my relationship with the students changed in a huge way. And they became my protectors. And if another student dared to stand up to me, the others would stand up and say, oh no, you don't do that here. So it changes the way people perceive us. When we come from ego or a place of protection or fear, it's like snakes smell fear. I mean, it's out there. We're putting that out there. And that is our response to the situation. But when we respond with loving compassion, And when we respond with what is needed in the situation, then that moment is fulfilled. That's the highest potential of that moment. And the people involved, all of the people in the class witnessed that fulfillment and felt it, and they changed. So there's that piece of the old patterns that have run us for a very long time. And the moment we recognize that they don't serve us, we now have choice. So it's like, if there's choice, we can't, just trying to get rid of the old pattern isn't necessarily the answer. What we want to do is find what's needed, what you are needing in each moment, and replace the old, I guess what I want to say is transmute the old pattern with the frequency of that which is needed. And then there's no more reason for your body to react in a way that depletes your own energy. Does that make sense? So replacing what is no longer needed with what is needed kind of makes sense. And then that you don't create a void. If you try to yank that out of you, out of your field, then there's a void there. So you don't want to create another void that would create another pattern to try to fill itself. So you immediately bring in what's needed, and it transmutes the old pattern, and eventually that pattern won't even come up anymore.
Yeah, I really understand it as such. Like if I'm in this pain, menopausal pain of fatigue and pain, like pain in my body, and if I have the understanding and compassion
For yourself.
yeah, then there is a gateway for energy to flow. And
And remembering, oops, go on. Yeah, finish.
there's something around, like also there are many women taking hormonal replacement today because of all these symptoms that I have. So I can tick in every symptom. Something in me, like this natural child in me, like this innocent child says, no, I don't want that. There must be a way. There must be a way that ancient like tribes have dealt with, like the women in those tribes have dealt with menopause, and there must be a way of accessing energy in a new way.
Mm-hmm. You are totally correct. And the symptoms of menopause are communication. It's communication to you about your relationship to your environment and what serves you and what doesn't serve you.
Yeah.
So paying attention, listening deeply to what that communication really wants you to know. I mean, our Western world would have us believe that being a woman is a disease.
Yeah, that you need hormonal replacement. It's like you can't live a healthy life without needing these kind of sprays and like taking all this kind of stuff to kind of.
Exactly. And I'm no doctor. I have no medical training except for that. I still have an opinion on that. And the way I see it is that hormone replacement is replacing chemicals for depth of communication within ourselves.
Yeah, that's how I also
They
understand
tend
it.
to numb us to those communications so that the symptoms of getting communications that life isn't serving us, the symptoms go away.
Join the meeting.
And life continues to not serve us. This is just David. His not his frequency drops, his reception drops, not the frequency. Welcome back, David.
And I mean, it's also sad to hear, like, because I was with my massage therapist and she has a 10-year-old daughter and she chose to do the hormonal replacement. And I really understand because she doesn't have
Support.
the support
Mm,
to just go in and listen and take her time, to
yeah.
just get off work and just deal with her things, and to have somebody else taking care of her daughter when she can't, and things like that.
Yeah.
So
It is sad. Our world does not support the feminine energy. I mean, it doesn't understand what that is all about. And so it doesn't understand woman. And there is a lot of harm that has happened. 75% of the hysterectomies that have happened are unnecessary. 75%. Yeah, Martina, you've been wanting to say something.
You guys are like bringing up a whole lot of stuff, and I just feel bursting ready to share it. So, like, even just what you just said with the hysterectomies there now, my mother had to go through a hysterectomy, I think, after I was born, and it could have been avoided if they took better care for her. I mean, in fairness, me and my mother actually nearly died when I was born. I can't remember her vitamin levels, her iron levels, something went down very, very low, and they had to induce the birth. So I was kind of born early than I should have been. And looking back on that, I think, why didn't they cap onto this before? Why didn't they give her vitamins and iron and stuff like that? Why did both me and my mum have to be put at risk? And to make matters worse, even about that birth, back in the day, the Catholic Church had such a grip over women that they couldn't even have their babies safely. My mother was so brainwashed that she thought she had to get permission from the church to go and have her birth induced, get permission from the church to have me early because her life was in danger and my life was in danger. Luckily, there was a very cool priest in charge of the parish of the time. He was a priest ahead of his time, so much so that he actually got into trouble a lot with the church.
Good for him.
But yeah, in a way, I kind of see I owe both mine and my mother's life to this guy, because he just pretty much said, "Woman, why the hell are you asking me permission to safely have your baby? Your doctors have told you what you need to do. Get your ass back to that hospital and you do what you need to do to keep both yourself and your baby safe." So luck was on our side that at that specific moment in time, he was the priest of the parish. If it was someone else, oh my God, God knows what would have happened to both me and my mom. God knows the dribble, the bullshit she would have been fed by the church and maybe interfered with the birth or something. So yeah, it's not even doctors that are messing up with the women's health. The church has a lot to account for, guys. And I'm not trying to bash Catholicism or Christianity. I'm just pointing out there's a lot of trauma that has been caused that needs to be accounted for. And we got to let go. It's like you said, we got to let go of these patterns. We do not need permission. We do not need permission from our doctors. We do not need permission from our churches or religious leaders. I think it's time to take back responsibility of our bodies.
Yeah.
The doctor is there to help us, not to control us or tell us what to do, because in the end, it's our body. In the end, it's our consent. And if a gynecologist or a doctor can't give us the answer to healing our bodies, we got to start searching somewhere else. And we live in such an amazing technologically advanced age where we can literally pick up our phones and go do our own research and study, look up other women that are going through similar stuff than us and have actually succeeded in healing their bodies without having their wounds ripped out, without having chemicals shot up into their body, interfering with their body's natural rhythm and flow. So I just feel like, is there an excuse anymore? If you've got access to the internet, you've got access to the answers you seek. Just be willing to go on that journey and find those answers. You'll find out you're not alone in what you're dealing with.
Yeah,
We
more
gotta
women.
we gotta take the doctors off the pedestals we put them up on for too long. That's the thing. Yeah.
That's right. More and more women. Thank you, Martina. That's a great example of what we're talking about. And there are infinite examples. In my family, I think there's, of all the women in my family, I think there's only like one woman. I mean, two of us who still have our organs in place. Everyone, all the women have had hysterectomies for the most part, with only a few exceptions. And it's this lack of understanding, this lack of connection to nature, lack of connection to ourselves, and that sacred responsibility that we have to our relationship with nature, with all of life, is basically what is missing in all of that. There is nobody on the planet, no matter how many PhDs they have or what kind of doctor they are. There's nobody on the planet who knows your body better than you. And with mothers, it's the same with our children.
Yeah.
We
And I think it's
know.
important to understand that those doctors, they're human. And what is a human? We're flawed. We make mistakes. We fail. So just because they wear a white coat and have a stethoscope around their neck doesn't mean they're always right when it comes to your body.
Each
And
one
it's
of us can go out and buy a white coat and a stethoscope. That doesn't necessarily, but we can be I'm not saying that we don't go to doctors. It's important to understand though that, this is coming into the imbalance just for a moment, because it's part of what we're talking about. That, and Sarah, just after I just share this, I will call on you. In the research that I've been doing, I've learned that almost every medical school across the world, medical university, has been funded by pharmaceutical companies. And the medical curriculum has changed dramatically over the last, I suppose, 50 years or so, because it's all about pharmaceuticals. And it's all based on Newtonian science that says that chemicals change chemicals. Chemicals are needed to change chemicals. If you're here, you know that energy, frequency, intention, love changes molecules. And we can change the molecular structure. And there's so much that we can do with and for each other and for ourselves. And so the medical training that happens now is about curing through chemicals. And many of the physicians who are practicing now, not all, there are some very wonderful physicians out there, and we need to look for them, naturopaths, and there are lots of great medical people that we can go to when we need support. But they're training, they don't know what they don't know. We know that nutrition is not part of a medical study for doctors. They don't know anything about nutrition. They don't make that connection for the most part, unless they are curious personally and they have done that work on their own. So and this is our gift. Everything happens for a reason, right? Everything that we see that's out in the world, whether it's depleting life or supporting life, holds a purpose. They're acting as placeholders. And when we witness that which is not supporting life, and we recognize that, then we get to make the changes. We get to go deeper within ourselves and get to find those answers that we need, that are through all the resources that we just experienced in that meditation. Doesn't mean we don't go to a doctor, but we don't necessarily have to do what is suggested. That's up to us. Sarah?
I think you kind of covered it. I'm not quite sure. But I think what I wanted to say was when you said we know our bodies, we do when we do things like you're doing, and we can learn. But I think what's happened, you know, in all these years is that people lose that contact with their own bodies and what they need.
Absolutely.
And that's really hard. And then I feel really moved to share this, which is slightly kind of off topic. It kind of like, I don't know if it actually helps build this conversation, but when you said something, Martina, you said how you both of you nearly died in childbirth. Well, that happened to my husband 69 years ago. And it was his birthday yesterday. And on that day, his mum is 95 now. And we live some little way away. And on that day, she had a medical crisis, which she doesn't usually have. And it was a very bloody one. There was a kind of, a vein leaked and all this kind of thing. So she needed something very quickly. And when he spoke to me in the evening and said, oh, she's fine, she's doing great, she's amazing. And he said, she's a bloody mess, but she's okay. And I thought, this is quite incredible how life came round. Life came round all that way. And I know that quietly that's been an unspoken trauma for them for 69 years. Yeah, because she doesn't know how to, neither of them really knew how to deal with that. He nearly killed her or whatever. They nearly died. And something, life gave them this amazing thing on that birthday. Isn't that incredible?
Wow,
So you said, I would never have brought that into this conversation, but Martina, it just seems so relevant with what you said. And I think certainly then they wouldn't have known what to do. They had to do something medical, and but now we know so much more. It just feels to me we're really in this place where the two can come together. What we know about our bodies, what other ways that we know, and yet we're always going to be grateful if something turns up quickly and helps if medically we're about to die, or for a while, and then we'll find better ways of doing that as well. But so yeah, I do think a lot of people have actually lost that. I know what my body needs, and that's what this big part of the work is.
You are right. And that's why we're having this conversation, because it is so relevant in this time where so much is happening. And with all of this happening, if we were completely disconnected, it would be so much harder to deal with it all. But when we recognize that we are in a process, there's this polarity continuum in this 3D world that is a duality. And we've lived our whole lives believing that there's good and there's bad, and there's black and there's white, and there's sad and there's happy, and the whole gamut of every single emotion. And so we think, well, this side of the polarity continuum is good. That's what I want to feel. This side is bad. That's what I don't want to feel. And sometimes we even judge ourselves and feel guilty if we get angry or do something on the bad side of the continuum. But it's all part of the flow. And what I see, you're not going to be able to see me because this picture isn't big enough. But if we take, once we know one end of the continuum, we know what joy feels like, ecstatic joy. Hopefully every one of you do. Once we know one end of the continuum, and we know the most profound sadness, the deepest raging anger, once we've allowed ourselves to experience all of it, and we know both ends, it's at that point where we know how to maneuver into the middle. If we don't know where the ends are, we can't find the middle. And once we know the middle, because we've learned what it feels like to be on either end of that continuum, being in a polarized world has fulfilled its purpose. because we can take those two ends. Once we know the middle, we know every point along that continuum. We know it all because we've experienced just about all of it. And we've let ourselves experience that. That was necessary. And once we do that, then we can take those two ends. One in one hand is infinite, but we can reach into the infinite in this, it's certainly in this conversation. So grab what we call the good end with one hand and the end of the bad end with the other end, and bring them up and bring them full circle so that you connect those two ends and they become one. And you have just reconnected with love because there's no more judgment. And when we judge, we have stepped out of love. So I've done that. I've had to do that many times. It's just, okay, I'm taking those ends and I'm putting them together because I know what they are. And I don't need to be in this continuum, stuck in this continuum anymore. Life is not intended to be linear. It is cyclical. And the moment we turn that linear perception back into a circle, we rejoin the cycle of life in figuratively, literally every way possible. We reconnect the cycle of life. So
I will add, can I add to that, Deborah?
absolutely, Susan.
So when you take those two ends of the circle, the linear, and if you twist it before you attach it, then you get that torus loop, right? And so you can be on the seen and the unseen on both sides, the weaving in and out of, you know, being embodied and out of the body, and it's infinite. You get that infinity loop toroid where you're on both sides.
That's awesome.
I just wanted to add that.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you. That's beautiful because whether we recognize it or not, the energy does move in that toroidal fashion. There's a hole in the center, which is what in India they call Ashashumna. It's where the light comes in. It's that channel that holds our nervous system and spinal column and all of that. There is a lot of empty space there, and we can pull light into that space. And it comes right out the base, goes down through the earth. The earth is also a toroid, and it goes through her. She absorbs what she needs. It comes out the other end, and then it goes back up to the cosmos and back down again. And that cycle continues. And it goes both from above to below and below to above. So one is coming from the earth herself because she in her own right is a toroid. Our hearts are a toroid. Our heart has its own energy field, which the electromagnetic, when you put the electric energy of the heart and the magnetic energy of the heart together, heart math says it's 5,000 more times more powerful than any other organ in the body. So our hearts, when we align with our hearts, we tune into that love that we're talking about. And going back to Kipka's, you're mentioning the whole menstrual cycle, and that brings the womb back into the situation. And what I've learned is that for women, the only way that we can truly heal the wounding in our hearts is to reconsecrate our wombs and to heal our wombs. There is a lot of contamination that has come into our wombs because our water is contaminated, because the Earth Mother's water is contaminated, and it just, cycles through. And with that contamination in our wombs, there is a contamination of our concept of ourselves as women and men. I mean, our concepts have been contaminated with the diversion of the rivers, like we talked about, and in so many ways. So reconsecrating our womb And yes, we want to be open to allow the pure masculine in. And there is a lot of energy that we experience in the course of the day that we would not want to enter into our being. And so becoming more discerning of what we allow in and what we will not allow in is really critical, so that we can heal our wounds. And you know, having a male presence here, having David here, is such a gift, because this is an awareness that those beings who are embodying a male body need to understand. It's really part of this evolutionary process that we're going through in order to return to sacred relationship with each other. And honor, as women begin to honor each other and support each other in environments that actually help us to heal and thrive at that deeper level. The imbalance that has happened in our womb is one of the symptoms of that greater imbalance, is hysterectomy after hysterectomy after hysterectomy. That's the way our medical system believes is the way to, I mean, we're not machines who can have parts replaced. Sometimes a shoulder or a knee replacement can be really beneficial, but basically we are not machines. We are living beings. The earth is not a commodity to be taken. She is a living being. Gotta head off now. Martina, thank you for being here. Thank you. The recording will be up, so she can see that. So yeah, this is really deep, and that need, that desire, that longing to return to love is bringing up all of this wounding within us, so that we can clear it, so that we can heal and reconsecrate our whole being, to go back to that place of purity within our own perception of ourselves. And then when we go out in nature and feel that unity, feel that support, we have a different concept of nature, because we're seeing through different eyes. Sari?
Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah, so in 10 minutes I have to leave, but I wanted to share, because this theme of the unconditional love, actually, or the love, you call it the love, but the way I experience it today very much is the being that unconditional love, which
Absolutely.
actually came during the first meditation on the first day, with being the earth, like, because we are the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And connecting to that unconditional love, and so being that unconditional love, which is amazing. And what I noticed was so many things came together, because this morning I was giving a healing to a woman who has a burnout, and or actually she calls it long COVID, but yeah, anyway, so it's also, it's, you know, it's the way I see it is, you know, people already have sort of a weak state, and then COVID comes, and then it becomes long COVID maybe, but they were already depleted in some sense, like Vika was sharing, like, yeah, if you are already depleted and then going to a transition is very difficult, because you need the energy also, and if you become ill, you can't overcome it. But that's not what I wanted to say. I was giving her this healing, and I was just entering the state of being the earth and being that unconditional love, and simply, normally I you know, I also invite people to investigate themselves, but this time I felt like, no, it's good to just be in this energy and do the healing. And I also, what became very, because you were mentioning the womb, and it was very much also about this. So the same thought came to my mind. Oh yeah, because I know, like, the blessing of the womb, something that you as a woman can, that was sort of a chain thing. Like we can bless each other's wombs. And actually, to me, really, the womb feels like a portal, and it's a sacred space. And I also know there's a man in here, but I have felt like, because if a man and woman come together, there's often fear also for the men to go into the unknown, because it's like the universe. It's like, to me, the womb feels like the universal womb, and I think you mentioned it as well. And so it's also the darkness, and it's like where you dissolve. And also I have a friend, and she was sharing like, that having her child being born, it was like her ego identity was like sort of breaking up in pieces, you know. It's like a total surrender. And I haven't birthed a child, but I've, you know, it gives me chills. It's like, it's a transition, it's a sacred thing, it's a transition. I mean, it's a huge thing. Eh? So yeah, natural. And having the woman herself, you know, decide which position and everything is very, very important. It's her transition. Eh? And it's her birth. And of the child, of course. But yeah, so I just wanted to share that. So things were coming together. I also had a dream in which I was told, like, to heal just with compassionate, unconditional love. And I felt like today, I felt like, oh, because in the dream it was like, so not touching people anymore, but I felt like, and in the dream it was like that, and I'm sure it's possible when you are in that state.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but today it was, and the healing, you know, in the energy, but also just being that unconditional love, and directly, and that's so much what I receive from you, seeing the purity of the being that I am with. And that, then later on, when I moved, you know, just to in the kitchen, and I realized, like, everything, when I'm in that space of unconditional love, everything that I relate to in gratitude, but it's automatic. There is no I don't have to think something or say thank you. It's just gratitude. It's simply gratitude. It's like, yeah, probably again, this union from this place of unconditional love. Yeah. So, you know, I eat for my computer, which is like a machine. But through that, you know, to everybody present. So, yeah, I find it really amazing. So I just want to thank you, and everybody
Oh,
here.
thank you. Thank you for that, for what you shared. Yeah, it's this journey is to remember to honor the sacred. And as women who are the nurturers of life, if we do not feel the sacredness within ourselves, we cannot truly honor the sacredness in anything else, because we don't have it in us. We can acknowledge that there's sacredness out there, and oh, shoot.
Yeah, something happened. I don't know if it
Yeah,
was me or you, but
I thought the whole thing went.
frozen.
Yeah, that was, it's trying to come back, but I'm good to know that it's still here because the screen is gone. Can all of you still see the screen?
It's more about like, how can I embrace whole life and amplify life through my womb?
Yeah,
It's like, it's an amplifier of
absolutely.
life
The recording is still happening too. Okay.
with all of us, like all life. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
So with your circle of influence, with your women friends in particular, you know, the red tent. Do you remember that from biblical times, where all the women would go and menstruate together, and they called it the red tent because they were bleeding into the hay that they were sitting on? Women nurturing women and holding this space for their sacredness is holding space for your own sacredness. And we can learn that sacredness by being in nature and appreciating the sacredness there. I'm not saying that we can learn it either from the outside in or from the inside out. It doesn't matter how we get it. It's just what's important is that we reclaim that sacredness. And for men, you know, they have the feminine principles within them too. So men, I mean, it's very rare that a man is thinking about reclaiming their sacredness, because they're leading with, most of them, and not all for sure, but the majority of men lead with their masculine side. And that's just like, well, yeah, there's no words. They're like, I don't know what that means. So women can be way showers for that. We can support the men in our lives, the men that we love, whether sons, you know, doesn't matter the relationship. We can role model that for them by seeing and addressing that sacredness within them. When we speak to the sacred aspect of a man, we are reminding them, they are feeling that. And there is an opening that happens that is unspoken, just by us seeing that sacredness in them and addressing that place in them. And each other. I mean, for all of us. That's what I saw with my students when I started seeing their sacredness and addressing them for who they are and where they are in their process. The whole classroom opened up. I learned so much from that. So we may not be creating red tents, but we can all get together and listen to each other. And in listening to others, we learn to listen better to ourselves. We go into that place of silence and we hear more than we ever would have otherwise. I think, well, it's not what I think, it's what I've received, and it's what I know to be true, that women do play a very specific role on the earth right now. Because what is missing is who we are. It's like, we gotta come back out. Yeah. And compassion, unconditional loving compassion. Okay, Sarah, I understand that you have to go, but thank you for all that you've shared. Yeah, stay as long as you can, and when you have to go, we'll send you off with love. That compassion, unconditional loving compassion, is the bridge between suffering and healing. It's how we get there, because it's what's missing. And we bring in what's missing and we're whole again. So in A Course in Miracles, this is my favorite line in the whole book. It says that everything without exception is either an expression of love or a call for love. When it's an expression of love, it feels good. We can respond very easily with love. When it's a call for love, it looks like anything and everything but love, and it doesn't feel good. And if we respond from that not feel good place with anger or, how dare you, blaming, shaming, all of that, if we respond from that place, we are making that hole bigger. If we recognize a call for love when it shows up, then the only logical response is a loving response. Not always the easiest response to offer if anger is being spewed at you. But I've done that. There have been moments in my life where I've had the presence to be able to do that. And it was a total game changer. I was executive director of the Food Council, and I was networking throughout the whole community, bringing faith-based organizations together and bringing them in more into community service. And it was an amazing time. And there was this, before I took on that position, the former person that had that position happened to be male, but he and this other guy in the community who had started a food bank had an altercation. I mean, major ego headbutting. And they just came to a place where they really resented. And I mean, I don't use the word hate very often, but there was hatred between them because they challenged each other and neither one of them wanted to be challenged. And but anyways, so when I took the position over, I happened to be co-leading an event, and this man who started the food banks were all invited, and he was there. And I knew of him. I had never met him because all of the people that I worked with said, oh no. I said, I can talk to him. Maybe we can heal this. And they're like, oh no, do not go to him. Do not talk to him. Do not reach out at all. So I hadn't. But anyways, he was there and I was there. So I walked up to his table. I held out my hand. I introduced myself and I said, I'm so happy to meet you. Thank you for all the work you're doing in the community. And he sat back and pushed himself away from me. And he said, I'm not happy to meet you. And he went into this whole thing. And I just stood there and smiled with my hand out still, saying, that's okay. I just want you to know that I really appreciate all the work that you're doing. And we kept going back and forth. And I never stopped smiling. I never stopped holding up my hand. And I just kept saying, thank you. Thank you for all that you're doing. And nothing happened there except that I just left. After a point, there was no back and forth necessary. So I left. And the next time there was another gathering with all of these same people, he was there. He walked up to me and asked to take me to lunch because he wanted to talk about partnering with me. It's love does heal pain. And that was such an eye-opener for me to say, wow, I couldn't believe it when he walked up to me and wanted to engage, So we can make a difference simply by just holding that space, by being the river that flows with grace, no matter what level of chaos is happening around her. And sometimes the river rages, and sometimes she gets tired and she goes away. And we have all done that. We've all done it. But she knows. And there's a reason why she does it every time. And it's to honor herself. And in relationship of every kind, sometimes we need to rage. Sometimes we need to recede. And sometimes we need to stand with our hand open and a smile on our face and just say, thank you. Thank you for showing me everything that you're showing me, because I'm learning. I'm learning more about who I can be. And we may not say that out loud, but when we can do that and know that that is why we're doing what we're doing, it's beautiful. So anything that would like to be spoken by any of you? True boundaries. Yeah. Yeah. Those boundaries are critical. What would happen to a river without riverbed boundaries? She would dry up. She wouldn't exist. That's a really important message for all of us. Those boundaries, the riverbed is her container, and the feminine needs a container. And the masculine is part of that container. And so we must find the place in us who can appreciate the greater purpose that the masculine principles serve within ourselves as well, because we have that container. I mean, this body is a container. Tavika, you, yeah, I see the wheels turning. You can speak.
Yes, yeah, it came and it suddenly left again. Yes, I think it's what feels like beautiful when you say that you could meet him in his rage is that you know your rage. So if because you were speaking of all the feelings, so
Yeah.
when you are familiar with your own rage towards yourself or the world or whatever, then as I understand it, then you are comfortable with receiving rage from somebody else as well, and then you know how to do it for yourself, and then it's easier to do it for others as well. So thank you, really beautiful to hear your story around this and giving me that aha how important it is to kind of tend to the feelings, tend to my feelings, and to tend to my rage, actually, to allow myself to be angry.
Yeah. And not being comfortable with anger very often. I mean, we can have traumatic experiences throughout our lives, but very often it stems back to childhood.
Yes, exactly. I know that,
And
definitely.
so inviting in your inner child and guiding her, holding her through a process where you're being reminded of that old wound and rage is coming to you, rather than just triggering and responding with more rage or totally receding.
Mm-hmm.
That's an opportunity for healing for your inner child and for changing the pattern of recoiling or trying to fight back when rage shows up. Whatever your response, that patterned response is to rage, you can heal the source of that by bringing
Yes.
in what's needed.
Yes, and what's needed is that light of compassion at the same time, as I understand, like if I'm getting angry, so that there is also something else that is holding it, so I'm not kind of hurting myself or others, but still allowing the rage, and at the same time feeling that there is something bigger that is holding it. Yeah.
Yes. And you are being loved through the whole process.
Yes, that it's okay to be angry.
Well, it's necessary. It's not,
Yes.
it seems like it's on the bad end of the continuum, but it's really not bad. It's communication. No matter what emotion is moving through us, it is, I call it emotion, energy in motion. It's energy that is coming up for a reason for us. It's communication from our soul saying, how are you going to, what is this all about for you? And when our life force, when it feels like our life force is being threatened, which happens when we're children,
Definitely.
Lots of times, an appropriate response is to get angry. It's like, you don't have, I mean, literally, no one has the right to try to deplete our life force. But they don't know that. And they don't even know that they're depleting our life force. They're just leading with their wounds. And so there's so many unconscious things going on in these cycles. When people are leading with their wounds, they just don't have the skills. They haven't figured out that that's not serving them. That knee-jerk response to survive and protect ourselves is very powerful. And we can, with awareness, again, the moment we have awareness, we now have choice. Awareness of a formerly unconscious pattern changes it from an unconscious pattern to an understanding, a knowing. And in that knowing, we can choose differently. And that's how we retrain ourselves to move out of an old pattern. If we recognize that it was based on, is this? No, okay, I think that's right. Sorry, I was looking at the recording and it looked funny, but I think it's still good. I hope it's still good.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, we can that retraining is part of our stepping into our mastery and choosing mastery. I was here in Arizona. I was by Oak Creek, and there was this humongous, amazing sycamore tree that I couldn't even hug my arms around. It would have taken 5 people to go around that trunk and hug that tree all the way around. And I had never seen a tree like that. It was, and the branches were massive. They went out. I mean, that root system underneath the earth must have gone for miles, because the branches were, I mean, it just took up so much space. And I stood there in awe. I don't know how long, maybe 15 minutes. I really don't know, but I was just in such awe looking at the outreach of it, and the stability and the strength of the trunk, and just taking in all the parts of the tree and the beauty of the leaves with the sun coming through them and all of it. And then at some point, still in awe, I just couldn't resist it. And I went and put my arms around the tree. And while I was standing there with my arms around the tree said to me, "Do you dare to be as big as I am?" And that's what I did. It was like, whoa. and I said, "Yes, I do." And I thanked the tree and, finished my hike and went back home. And I got home and I couldn't get those words out of my head. And I'm like, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how to be as big as that tree is. I don't know how to take up that much space. And so that how do I do that? Kept ringing, it was very present with me. And I don't know how long, several days later, I went back to the tree and I hugged it again. And I said, "Show me. I don't know how to do this. I need help. Show me." And I'm still learning, but, it's been an amazing process. What a gift. If we don't take up the space that we are meant to take up on this planet, then space, precious, unified field space, is wasted. And what we are meant to radiate into that space that is meant to be us, those resources are squandered. So I just,
Of course, anger is part of that. It's like fire,
oh, absolutely.
life force, life giving. So it's that kind of thing of taking space. And I understand it also deeper because I am connected with my fire and anger, but not maybe on a daily basis. So maybe that's the thing for me when I feel depleted and fatigued. That might be a key also.
Yeah. And using that fire energy,
Yes,
rather than to burn off fuel and spew it, using that energy to transmute.
Yeah, because it's also sexual and it's creative. So it is in the womb.
Yes.
Comes from the womb.
And it can be turned into passion.
Yeah, exactly.
For being
so
all that you're meant
think
to be.
about it, but then it's also that thing of committing oneself to, like, when that comes, when the doubt comes and like the self-doubt and depression. As I feel like depression is anger, actually, unexpressed anger, to kind of allow it to come with holding it, like with the light, and asking the light to give me the energy to release it, to kind
And
of,
the clarity, because
yeah,
depression, the anger, the repressed anger that turns into depression is speaking to you. It's telling you that you're leaking energy.
yeah,
And it will also tell you how to seal those holes, just like with the trees. The earth is leaking energy when a tree is cut. From breath of love, releasing rage allows us to inhale and exhale the breath of love. As we release that rage, yes, and transmute, it creates more space for that breath of love. Beautiful, Susan. Thank you.
And it's like suffocation. We're suffocating, or the river is suffocating or dammed up, and it's not allowing that breath of life to go in and out. Same with the wounds, by removing a woman's womb, either directly or indirectly. Yeah, sometimes it's necessary, but it's actually a form of control to block that flow of love, or a dam on the river, or redirecting a river is interfering with that flow and that breath of love. And then that's when I think the rage and the anger, and where the earth comes back to recuperate herself, because that's what we're meant to do anyway.
That's
Complete.
You speak the truth. Yes, that's beautiful. And the diversion of the rivers, I think I said this yesterday, but I want to just say it again because it's so important. The diversion of the rivers, for whatever reason, diverts her from her purpose. She's no longer on the path that will lead her back to the ocean. She's going somewhere else, and she's being drained. The Colorado River doesn't make it to the Sea of Cortez anymore. Her purpose has been diverted because all of her waters are being taken. So that question of where are we damming ourselves up? Where have we allowed a dam to be placed that is diverting us from our purpose? What has instilled fear of being as big as we want to be? And there's lots of reasons for that. Lots of them. And like I said, water can get through anything. She knows she has boundaries when she's on her path. She's singly mindedly focused on nurturing and nourish all life along her path. And when she decides to rage, she will step out of those boundaries and assume her right to be everywhere. Yeah. Learning from the elements how to be nature. Yes, because that is who we are. And we have forgotten. And nature will teach us. And like I said the other day, if you want to embody the feminine principles, sit with water and earth and listen. If you want to strengthen your masculine principles within you, sit with air and fire, explore them, talk to them, listen to them, honor them. And you will learn what those principles are. Because it's not written in a book. It's not meant to be written in a book. The oral histories of the original peoples were meant to be passed on. And something gets lost in the translation in the books. And this needs, the book of nature is always available to us. And we can always learn from it. And the learning is different than reading information. It's energy that comes in that shifts us and activates our memory. We have somebody joining us. Kali Das, thank you so much. We're just about ready to end. We're actually over 6 minutes because the conversation has been so wonderful, but it's all being recorded. So I would love for you to listen and offer your input. Rebecca's there too. Whoops. So anyways, thank you for joining us. And the recording will be available. I can even send it to you if you want. It'll be available on my website. It'll be available on the 7 Days of Rest website. And where else? Well, it'll be on YouTube as well. So we're just wrapping up here, kind of summarizing everything that we've talked about. And it's all about listening, really. I mean, we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right? We need to listen twice as much as we talk. And it may not feel like I'm living that while I'm doing these these classes, because I've talked a lot. However, when I'm in nature, I'm full on listening. So any final comments or questions from anyone? And
What is your website? Is it Sedona Soul Integration?
.com. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Somebody asked.
And it took me a while, but I finally got the recordings that have happened already are up. And as we complete this week, I will be adding more to that. So all of the recordings will be on my website, as well as the 7 Days of Rest. I find that website a little confusing to maneuver because there's so much on it. But and YouTube, just put in my name in YouTube and they'll be there as well. So thank you all so much for being here and for everything that you've contributed. It's been a really, I mean, talk about juicy. We started out talking about the juiciness of the fruit as it's ripening more and more with each time we get together, and it's getting very juicy. We might need to be bringing napkins with us, because when we take a bite, it's going to drool all over us. So no final comments, questions? We're complete. All right. I will. Thank you, Susan. Yes, thank you. Let's just close from this place of full heart that is connected to the full heart of the mother, who is so pleased that we are all here honoring her. The waters, who are so pleased that we have recognized what earth and water and the elements are going through right now. We're holding space, that space of compassionate, unconditional love that bridges the suffering, that heals the trauma, that allows the feminine to willingly open to the pure masculine light, to the air and the fire elements, to circulate that masculine light throughout our being, and to circulate it deep into our inner waters, that they may be purified and healed. And in the process, our own inner male lightens up even more, because he is fulfilling his purpose. And our inner female heals and is purified and can fulfill her purpose of nurturing and nourishing all life in a way that serves all life, that enhances the entire web of life and brings us back into our first nature, in unity with all life, in love with all life, and in deep appreciation and gratitude for our remembrance that we are part of this greater organism that is called life. And that we weave our love through every breath that we take, weaving that into the web of life. That all that is becomes repurified because we understand and we remember that all is love. Thank you, thank you, thank you to Mother Earth, to the waters, to the wombs of the feminine, the aquifers underneath the surface of the mother, all the way to the womb of creation and every womb in between. And thank you to the masculine elements of air and fire for being sentinels, for being so supportive to the feminine purpose of nurturing and nourishing all life, that all life may thrive, knowing that it is protected, it is safe, and it is loved. Love to each and every one of you. Gratitude for your presence, for your willingness to, and your courageous presence here to expand and be all that you are meant to be as large as you intended before coming into this body. The body is a boundary in one sense, and there is no boundary to who we are, to how big we can be, because we are part of an infinite source. May we all embody that infinite love, the fire of that presence, the flow of the water and the air, in absolute harmony and gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Blessed be. So it is. So tomorrow, I have to look. I'm not in a space to even remember in my mind where we, oops, and I can't even remember where it is. There it is. So tomorrow we are on day 5. Yes, seasons of light. For everything there is a time and a season. So we bring all of these beautiful elements, all these beautiful qualities into our dialogue tomorrow, into our being. And we expand even more and we get even juicier. So thank you. Blessed be to all of you. Have a beautiful day. See you tomorrow. Bye. So, Kalidas, I just wanted to check in. Did you have the right time or were you just not able to get in sooner? And Rebecca, sorry, both of you. Kalidas is on the screen.
I've been joining through the taped recording, and I've only been able to get to it late at night when everyone goes to bed.
Oh,
and so finally this morning I was able to get it on before the recording was over. But it's the morning time, so the kids are moving, and I was just happy to get there at the end of it. And I'm a day behind, so I'll listen to yesterday's tonight when it's quiet in the house. Yeah. And then I'll listen to this recording tomorrow night, kind of thing, probably, as I'm just digesting it, and I'm settling into a good pace with it in that way.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. do you have any questions, since we haven't, you may not, I don't know if you'll be able to join tomorrow, but do you have any questions at all about what you've listened to and seen so far?
So far, there's no question. It's just been divine transmissions from you, and it's beautiful. I'm so grateful for this. I don't know what had hit me, but on the first day of the new year, well, maybe it was we did some kirtan chanting in the new year, and then Rebecca worked at the restaurant on the day of the new year.
Ah,
So on the second day of the new year, I was in bed all day, and that's when I caught up and said, "Oh, let me see what's going on. What did I miss?" So I'm a day behind, but I'm with you, and I'm very grateful
oh,
for this. Thank you.
oh, thank you. Yes, I'm so
Yeah.
glad to connect with you here.
Yeah, mutually. I haven't I wasn't sure what it was, and I still didn't find the schedule, but I know now it's every day, and so we're just working on it slowly and surely.
And have you seen the descriptions? Have you seen that? I put it,
Um I don't know where that would be. No.
I
Oh,
think-
well, when I go to the video, yeah, on YouTube, I find it there, yeah.
okay. And
But I think that I think I saw that a description for yesterday's video was like a day off or something. Like, I think when I watched the video yesterday, it said that it was day 3, but I was watching day 2.
oh,
So I don't know. We might want to look into that, or I'll look into it again and go through them and see if
yeah,
the right description is with the right video, and I'll let you know if I find any
okay. And that was
anything there.
on YouTube?
That was on YouTube. Yeah.
Huh, I'll look at that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
they'll all be listed all in one place on my website, and all of the information for the whole week is there as well as a link to the Eco Governance 7 Days of Rest site itself. So,
Oh,
and that's
all right.
sedonasoulintegration.com.
Okay. Great. I wonder if are you in Sedona?
Well, I'm in Cottonwood. Yeah,
Wow.
I moved
Amazing.
back from Maine this spring. So,
Amazing.
yeah.
I was born in Maine and I'm in Sedona.
Well, I was born in Maine and I'm loving Sedona. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I would had hoped to live in Sedona again. I lived there for 12 years when I was here before, but the prices have gone crazy, and so I'm in Cottonwood. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's all
Well, it is. It certainly is. Well, that's so good. I'm so glad you're so close and that you're doing this. I'm really happy to hear it. I was reaching out to the men's group, and it's looking like I just got to hold it down in the house for now, and I think Adam might come by and visit, because there's not a lot of the men's circle for all life in the area right now.
That's right. Yeah. And
Yeah.
the women haven't been gathering all that often either. So
Yeah.
it's, but this times like this is important. And I'm going to be I'm speaking all over the community about the water and what's happening
Amazing.
with the Verde.
Yeah.
And so those will be beautiful gatherings as well.
We had a meeting that ended with, well, we're going to have a water outreach in the community, and I don't know how that ended up, and I know that we're just all doing what we need to be doing, but I'm very much looking forward to that. So Rebecca and I both are looking forward to. So let us know of what we can do to advocate for the water, and to just to be part of what it is that we're doing for the water.
Yeah, and I'm just putting it out there to anyone in the area who wants to bring people to their home and do a small gathering or create gatherings where I will just go and speak and initiate conversation about the water and what we can do and
Got
how we can support her.
Got it.
So
Okay.
I'm available.
Well,
Contact me anytime.
I'll mention that to Rebecca, and we'll see what we can do. She coordinates the events at the Chocolate Tree. So
I need to touch base with her because Radhika had said that she would like to support in that way. offering the space. And so we could do that at Chocolatry. Yes.
Yes, let's do. I don't know what to do, but I know that it's definitely meant to do. I do some of the ground. I keep the grounds for Chocolatry, and we have the water for the community. And some days I come over, and because we turn the water off during the day, the hour of service, to reduce the traffic there at the front of the building.
Uh-huh.
But we're unconscious, or some folks are unconscious around the water, and so they'll come to try to get water when there isn't water, and then when the water comes on, the water is flowing freely. And so there's definitely in my heart a need to bring some, just raise the awareness of the water. And then, well, if the water's off, then I'm not going to open the valves, so that when the water comes on, it's going to flow freely down the stream, on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, wonderful. Well, I'm so glad to have finally synced up, and thanks for taking a few minutes with me here, and I'll keep you posted on everything as it unfolds.
And I'll reach out to Rebecca too, and we can start a conversation about creating a date to do a gathering at the Chocolatry.
Beautiful. I'll let her know that you're doing so.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Deborah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Susan, anything else for you since you're still here?
I was just listening. I think that's really great how you just connected with that person. I don't know if you knew each other. Well, yeah, it's just, oh, and tomorrow I have to work, so I'll have to listen to the recording.
Okay. All right. You have ways to access it, so you should be good to go. We'll miss you though. Thank you for being
Yeah, I'll
part
miss
of it.
you. Sorry, I'm laying kind of low and just kind of listening this week. So
That's a good thing to do. And are you ready to go back to work because you're not feeling well?
I'll be okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just taking it easy.
That's
Try not to get too much mental, emotional overstimulation.